Hello, George. Thank you so much for your time and being with us, being a guest on our Praying Care channel. It's a joy to have you with us. Thank you so much.
No, my pleasure. It's
Um,
lovely to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Thanks for your time. All right, so it's the Carers Week that we have been on for this all through this week. Since Monday, we have had different interviews on this platform, and this is going to be our final one, for this year in terms of for the Carers Week, obviously. And the theme, like I said, we discussed it initially, was on recognizing and supporting carers in the community, recognizing and supporting carers in the community. And we have discussed different things, on the platform, just to see if we could, help us to raise awareness about carers, about what we do, the life of a carer, basically, is what we've been trying to talk about. And so it's a joy that you're with us again tonight as well. So thank you. Thank you very much for that. So this is the Praying Carer channel, and we have dedicated the channel to parent carers, to discuss our issues, families, and, the things that are pertinent to us, things that could encourage, that could motivate, as well. So we bring in different people at different times, at times parents, carers, at times other professionals, at times people that just love the community, the disability community. So just be a blessing to us. And then we have a praying session every month, once every month, where we reach out to the last Tuesdays of every month. We do gather together to pray and to just commit the community to the Lord's hands and all that. So that's what we do on the platform. And I'm sure it will be a lovely time again for us all together tonight. So yeah, before we go on, shall I just pray quickly and commit the session to God's hands? Thank you. Father, we want to bless you. Thank you for another opportunity. We thank you for this session. Thank you for the week, the way the week has been thus far. Thank you for all the things that we have learned, even from one another and from all other people as well, that they have learned as well from this channel this week. We just give you all the praise and all the glory in Jesus' name. Father, we pray that as we want to start the session, we ask for your presence. We ask that you direct our conversation and you just make it to be a blessing to everyone, to us as well, and to everyone that will listen to it in Jesus' name. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen. Amen. Brilliant. Okay, so George, I'm going to be asking some questions tonight because I'm really curious, is what it is. Our focus for this session is on the parent carers' work and employment. Okay, so under the general topic that we have, recognizing and supporting carers in the community, we have all the different focus for each of the different days and the sessions that we have been having and the different interviews that we've been having. So our focus will be on the parent carers' work and employment. But before we go into that fully, let's meet you. Who is George Christian? Tell us about you and your parenting carer journey thus far.
So I'm George Christian and I am a mum of 3 boys. I have Toby, who is 14, and Bo, who is 10, and Ren, who is 8. And I have been a parent carer since Toby was born. So Toby, my eldest, has a learning disability and a genetic condition. So he has a severe learning disability and coordination issues, gross and fine motor skill issues, social communication challenges. He is verbal, but he has relatively limited speech, but it's wonderful and lovely how he uses his growing voice. So I became a carer when he was born, although I would say I didn't really recognize myself as a carer until relatively recently. I think for me it's been the point at which the younger two boys stopped needing me to do the things that Toby still needs me to do. So I think I just considered myself to be a mum. And the point at which I stopped cleaning their teeth and I stopped dressing them and I stopped doing their kind of personal hygiene. I think when I'm still carrying on doing that with Toby, I think now I definitely recognise that there's a lot of caring responsibility that goes on, but I think for most of his life I've just thought of myself as mum.
As a mom.
Yeah.
Why was that a choice in terms of I don't want to see myself as a carer, or it just evolved?
I just didn't really cross my mind. I just thought that's what mums do. And I've been a part of the carers network at my work. So I work at the Department for Education, and I've been part of their network for probably about 4 or 5 years, but I've never been to a meeting. I've never accessed any support. So I have recognised that I have these care responsibilities, but I haven't engaged with it. It's not the language that I use when I talk to my line managers about what support I might need. I don't use that language, and actually I think it's something at the moment that I am revisiting and rethinking about. And we're certainly, this, as it's Carers Week and we're doing lots at work about caring, and we're having conversations at home about the fact that Toby's brothers are young carers. It's definitely becoming part of a vocabulary in the way that it hasn't been before.
Indeed. And that's the uniqueness of it, isn't it? Because while we want to see ourselves as much as possible, our families as ordinary, typical families, it is not, we are not. There are different elements of our lives together as families that just makes us different from the typical one. And so how has the journey been for you, even without acknowledging that you're a carer? How has it been with 14 years with Toby?
It's been mostly amazing and often really hard. So I think through so Toby and Abigail, your wonderful, beautiful daughter, both started school in the same class. And Toby is still at the same school that they both started at 5.
Right.
And I am the chair of governors of that school now. So I've been a governor since he started, and then I became chair of governors in 2019. So I think the way that I manage it for me is to kind of be as involved as I possibly can, and I don't think I try and control everything, and I'm not kind of anxious around letting go and letting him be where he needs to be. I'm really happy to send him off to school and send him to clubs and to leave him there and know that he's happy and well looked after. But I think I manage it by being as involved in the school as I can, and kind of understanding what support he's getting, and how people are helping him outside, so that I can, obviously my husband and I can learn from that and support as much as we can. It's been as you would expect, it's been a long, tough journey, and certainly the first couple of years were really hard when we didn't have a diagnosis and when he just didn't do the things that we were told he should be doing, and he missed every milestone. All of that stuff was really, really tough. When his younger brothers came along, that massively upped the ante in terms of what we had on our plate, and things kind of in terms of logistics and physically were really tough, but were I think I felt I kind of felt like I could accept it a lot more when I had these other two beings that were, part of the bigger family and were kind of helping. What we certainly have found, he is the light of our lives and the light of most people's lives as he meets them and wanders around with his beautiful smile and wonderful nature. We have, through him, have experienced so much support and kindness that we wouldn't have experienced otherwise. So many people have, as you well know, with when you've got care responsibilities for a child with disabilities, there's lots of doors that are shut to you and things you can't access, and things that make you feel different and like you're not part of that bigger community. And we've had so many experiences of people going above and beyond to open doors for us and to allow Toby to access things and to support us in accessing various different services. So he's definitely brought love and joy, not just from himself, but from all the people that he that he engages with. And yesterday he had a hospital appointment, so I took him into school and ended up having to walk to his classroom, and it's like a minor celebrity strutting along the classroom with, he knows the name of every person that you meet, and they're all delighted to see him, and he's it's like we're his fan club or entourage walking along beside him.
Bless him. I think the first time I noticed, like you mentioned there, I'll allow you to talk about their love story, Abigail and Toby, was when, I just started seeing, they all just started at the school then. And I would see the photos that would come in, and then I would see this boy again. I'll see this boy. And then I told the teachers, I said, who is this boy? You need to let him know that it takes a lot to get married where I came from. Until we met, and you were also looking out for who is this.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that before we go into other things?
Yeah, so when Toby started school, he was pre-verbal, so he had no words. He had a couple of sounds but no words, and very uncoordinated and very unaware of his surroundings, and has always been drawn to adults. So he will always seek out the adult that will understand him and respond in a way that he finds comfortable. And he had never had any friends, so he'd never engaged with people his own age at all, and we really wondered whether he ever would be able to. And then we started getting, so there's a homeschool contact book, and they write in it and they tell you about your child's day, because they're not able to tell you themselves, and we would get photos, and there's photo after photo of that first home contact book of Toby staring at this girl in a wheelchair as though she's a goddess, and some sort of light emanating from her. And it was the first time he had wanted to spend time with another child, and they just loved being around each other and have this special a special relationship where they just felt good in each other's company. And it was so amazing to see, because from our perspective it's quite hard to look at them and think, what are they getting from this? But it made them happy.
Indeed, because, and I remember then that for every outing that we would meet, and Toby would go and drag the grandparents, and then we'll be tapping them and be telling them, Abigail, Abigail. And it was also wherever, even in that, that was outside of school setting.
Yeah,
it was just so beautiful, and our whole face will just lit up as well. So there's a connection going on.
Yeah, really lovely.
And I think that's lovely. I wanted us to tell a little bit of that story, just so that in case there's another parent out there thinking, yes, this is isolating. What's going to be at the end of this? What will the life? It's so easy, like you said, for the typical children, for you to plan. Okay, yes. So after primary school, secondary school, after secondary school, that, and we don't have that opportunity, because it's about a daily life. It's about, well, let's get through today, and then tomorrow we'll know what next. right? And that could be bleak at times, but indeed, we can also try to, without playing down on those difficult times, we can also pick and look out for the positives, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many. And that their friendship was just joyful and so special to see, and like not something that you have to even try and understand, just to witness it was lovely. And he has lots of friendships now, which are lovely, and she was his first friend, and she has that special place in his heart. And I said, I'm coming to speak to Abigail's mum tonight, and he was very excited for me.
Oh, bless him.
She's still there in his heart.
It'd be lovely to see them again together. Now, right. So let me go straight into some of the things that I want also highlight for today about carers' work and employment. That is a big topic to broach. How have you managed to be a mother to Toby and two others, and combine that with paid work?
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. I've been really lucky. So I work at the Department of Education, as I said, and I have done for the last 12 years. And before that, I worked at another organisation, which was called the Children's Workforce Development Council. So it was an agency essentially of the department. So I was a public servant / civil servant then as well. So both organisations really supportive, and have been very lucky with line managers as well. I have worked since I've had Toby. I've worked part-time, and for the last 12 years I've worked in a job share. So my job share partner Mia works Monday to Wednesday, and I work Wednesday to Friday. And I think it's relatively unusual to have a job share that's lasted that long. So we both had 2 children during that. So both our second and third children were born while we were job sharing, and we've gone on maternity leave together and come back twice. Having someone that I don't ever have to explain myself to is wonderful, and someone who is doing the same job as me. There is very few opportunities, I think, where you have someone that has your back, and needs you to succeed as much as they do, because my success is her success and the other way around. So that's been a huge help to me, having her, and she's a huge source of support. But also I just think I've been really lucky with line managers, and the department, you have to find an employer that values this sort of thing, and the civil service is brilliant in terms of supporting flexibility. We have a carers network, and the carers network is really good, and I've been in workshop today about being a carer confident employer, and I've got another one tomorrow. So it's a really great environment to kind of support you to be able to talk about what you need. And it changes the infrastructure that we need around us as a family to enable me to work, or to enable both of us to work. You have to find the right childcare, and that's really difficult. And you need to have someone who, and that changes. You have to keep adapting and changing, because the needs are different. The needs of looking after a cute, beautiful 4-year-old are very different to looking after a 14-year-old.
Definitely.
Nearly a man, but still has similar needs. And so you I don't know, we have also been really lucky in that respect. So we have a childminder that we have used for the last sort of 10 years now. With a break. So with a break during COVID, and then other things. So there was a couple of years where we didn't, but we kind of came back to each other because we both needed each other, and love the boys and we love her, and we kind of struggle without each other. So she is wonderful, and and recently with some kind of new developments around Toby's health, has just again stepped up to be the calm support that doesn't need, we don't need to have a conversation, she just takes the other two away when needed and you know, manages it. So that's been really wonderful. It's all the other things as well, isn't it? So transport, homeschool transport is so important, and if you don't have that, then everything falls apart. It feels always, and I don't know if this is particularly different to normal parents as opposed to carer parents, but it feels permanently fragile, and when those things break down, it feels catastrophic whenever they do. And you know, our childminder's daughter was very ill for a period, and so she had to stop working, and you know, between us we've kind of gone on this journey, and each time it had either transport, we told we don't get transport anymore, or she wasn't able to work, or something's happened, each time that feels awful. But actually, once I have that conversation with my boss and I say, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do, and they say, it's okay, we'll work it out, then you just feel better.
Get on with it.
Yeah, exactly. And we always do, obviously. You know, the world doesn't come to an end because your childcare arrangements don't work. You just find a way. And now, given kind of post-COVID and all of that flexibility that we have, it's actually so much easier. Because you know, I've got no childcare today, and I've worked at home, and Tobes comes in and says hi to whoever I'm in a meeting with, and then you know, goes off and plays on his iPad for a bit. So it works, and you make it work. But I think kind of my challenge has been to not panic and not catastrophize when things go wrong, because that is what I tend to do. But actually, I have to remind myself that each time it's gone wrong, we've got through it, and we're still going. So it's doable.
Now, to be honest, I think that's so unique an experience, which is beautiful to hear, you know, because what we see most times would be the challenges that parents, carers would face, so much so that you would need to make a choice whether you were going to go career-wise, or you were just going to, I mean, one thing just has to give for the other. And while that is also applicable, you know, to, you know, typical families, right? We have, within the disability community, have had so much more to deal with in that regard. So what I hear you say, and some of the things that I'm picking here, is like, if you can put a support system in place, this is doable.
Yeah, it is. If you've got a supportive employer, so you need to have a supportive employer, and you need to have the infrastructure to enable you to do it. And you need to, you know, there's a bit about proving yourself, so that they, you know, going above and beyond at times, so that they know that you know, you kind of build up credit, don't you? So that with those times when you've got to drop everything and run, you know, they know that you're good for making it up. And you know, you've earned the right to do that. There's always, and that might well just be my guilt making me do that rather than actually having to do that. But that's kind of how I justify it to myself, that I'm owed that extra time because I've already worked it. But you need to have it. I imagine if you've got a difficult employer or a difficult relationship with your line manager, that these things just are so much harder.
It would be indeed. It would be. Now, I would come to the employers later on in our conversation, so that we can probably pick some things as well that, you know, can be encouraging to employers who might want to give this kind of opportunities to parent carers. If we focus on parent carers based on your own experience, how can somebody who has had that, because it looks like, I mean, you have been working here for 12 years, you effectively, so about 2 years before you, after you've had Toby. Now, for someone who has had to make a choice and had to leave their career effectively and then, to focus on caring, and they want to navigate back, what would you say? What would you advise, and how can that be done?
Oh, I think that's a really tough one, isn't it? Going back into the kind of workplace.
Yes.
Whether you've had a long-term career break or whether it's a maternity leave or kind of whatever, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to think through just getting dressed and getting myself there on time and not getting someone's Weetabix poured all over me before I leave the house, all of that sort of stuff. Just the basics is really tough.
Yes.
When you're out of practice at it. So definitely, if that was me that I was doing that, I would try to get myself back in the swing of it gradually. So whether you can do some volunteering work, whether you can start smaller and get bigger, you don't necessarily have the luxury of deciding I'm going to start 2 days a week and then go up to 4, but whether it's kind of getting yourself comfortable with it and just reminding yourself how to be in an office. I think there are so many people who don't know that now because they've started their career. We've got an entire generation of people whose first 3 years of work were on Zoom.
Yeah.
And they've not been in an office. They don't know what you wear from the shoulders down because they've not seen it.
They've not done it.
No, exactly. So that's not specific to parent carers, but I think for parent carers, you need to be realistic about what you can achieve, and it's a struggle, but set yourself a realistic, you need to really think through the logistics, and you need to have, if you've got another partner, they need to be fully behind it.
Exactly.
For it
exactly. Part of the support network. It's
a whole family effort to get you there.
That's why I was referring to with your support network. You're having the childminder. Obviously, some people will say, oh, I can't afford a childminder. That means, if I want to work, then I'm not working. So it's just like a cycle. I'm more working, so I'm not empowered to be able to get a childminder. If I want a childminder, then I need to get the money for it. That. So something just has to, it's a lot of balls to juggle. And when you have to, hospital runs today, yes, emergency tomorrow, and depending on the severity or complexities around the conditions of your child, then all those things come as factors to be considered again. And so some people just give up. But I have always been an advocate to say, you can do what you are able to do wherever you are with whatever you have, right? And that is one thing that is, I believe is always a step in the right direction. What can I do? I just believe so much that there is always something that you can do, and
you will have so many transferable skills from your parent.
Yeah, that's my next question.
Parent carer role. Just the level of organization that you need to have in order to keep track of your child's different consultants and who's seeing who when, and when you need to be following up on that, and how you get that child to there and that child to there, or and pulling on which resources. So there's so many skills that you will be practicing on a daily basis. You're not coming back into the workplace or entering into the workplace for the first time with nothing. There's so much there, and it's depending on kind of which industry I suppose you're going into. It's finding the language that they value. Language is so important, and having a look at, when you're looking at job applications, what is it that they're asking for? What's the language? Is it kind of competencies? Is it behaviors? Is it outputs? Is it impact? And trying to think about putting yourself into that situation and describing what you've been doing as a carer in that language.
And I think that transition is, because that's actually the next question that I have here, that how can a parent carer navigate their way back with the kind of transferable skills that, because we do so much. as parents carers, you need to employ, whether it comes naturally or, it's demanded. I mean, you attend meetings, you do this, you do organize it and all that. I was going to ask about what are those general skills that you believe that a parent carer could take to the place of work. And even if they're going to then now present it, how can they present that in a way that will be attractive to an employer?
Well, I think there's so many transferable skills. As I say, there's, organization skills are essential. You are your child's advocate. So you have advocacy skills. You speak on their behalf and you fight for them. And that's, every employer wants someone who will fight for the agenda that they're trying to support and will, speak on its behalf. So advocacy is a hugely valuable skill that all parent carers will have. You understand a complicated system. So whatever support your child gets, it's not straightforward. It never is. And the health system doesn't work like that. So you have navigated that system. So, that's another really valuable skill. And you kind of need to try and think about how, as I say, how you use that in terms of the language of whatever it is you want to go and do. If you want to go and work in a school, then there's loads of transferable skills that you've got there about kind of how you support young people, how you advocate on their behalf, how you manage the different systems and interactions that the school will have so many different partners that it needs to be involved with. If it's finance, if it's public service, there's so many different things that you are doing in terms of, there'll be financial management that you're involved in, because whether or you might have direct payments, you might have support, but again, there's advocacy there will be kind of keeping track of what's coming in and what's going out in terms of those direct payments. It's amazing what we're expected to be able to manage in terms of that sort of financial side of things. It's quite terrifying, I think, isn't it, when you first enter it at the beginning and think, how on earth, I'm not an accountant, how can I do that? But you do it because you have to.
You just get on with it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's all of those side of things that I think most employers would really value. It's how you sell yourself to them.
You sell, exactly. It's about that selling, isn't it? And again, I think what other thing you said earlier on, which was useful, which I think is important, is knowing being able to set your own goals. You might not be able to jump in there just straight off. And one of the things I say again is probably starting small, which was what you alluded to earlier on.
Yeah.
Being realistic about.
Exactly. And knowing that you're not, you might have an end goal that you really want to get to, or you might not, but that no step is a backward step. You might think that actually this is not giving me anything, I want to be there, and this place isn't getting me there, but there is always something in every role, even if it's just knowledge about the type of role you definitely don't want, or the type of person you definitely don't want to work for. It's all valuable, and it will help you get to where you want to be. So just doing something is progress.
I believe, absolutely, I believe that. Now, what can you say to an employer? Should we have, with all the lovely experience you have had, do you want to explain what is job share, just in case, how does job share work? How does part-time, flexibility, all these things that we have now that were not there before. Some do hybrid, some do, I think mostly now you do hybrid. How can let's talk about that first. To the employer, what can they expect from a parent carer that can encourage them to put that in, give them another opportunity?
Yeah. So what is a job share? Is it helpful to expand on kind of how that works? So Samir and I, we do the same job. We have one email account between us that we can both access, and that we jointly line manage a team of people, and we are jointly responsible for everything. So there are different ways to do a job share, but you can either split a job between you or you can share it, and we share everything. So we're both jointly responsible for everything that we do. We have joint kind of one-to-one sessions, which is actually a 1-to-2 session with our line manager. We at the moment are line managed by a job share and have colleagues who are job shares. So there's 3 job shares all working together, which is definitely is a whole new set of challenges that I haven't experienced before, and it's making me reflect on my own performance as a job share member. Just kind of learning from being on the receiving end of it, I suppose. But in terms of what the employer gets from that is that they get, so between us, because we both work 3 days a week, essentially they have to pay 1.2 of a person of a full-time equivalent. So they pay more to get us, but they get so much more because we bring 2 heads. So there's 1 output, but 2 people have inputted into it. And so inevitably anything we produce is better than it would have been had I done it or had she done it on her own, because we come with different experiences, we come with different thoughts and ideas, and we shape and hone each other's work. We have different strengths and weaknesses, so obviously we're different people. So yeah, everything we produce together is better, and our staff get 2 different perspectives. Sometimes you want just one.
Yes.
And I know that it can be challenging when we might disagree, and we don't always agree because, as I say, we're different people. But in my view, and in the view of most of my line managers, I think you get a better output because there are 2 of us thinking about what it is we're meant to do. And the kind of point at which you would question yourself and you would think and reflect on what you're doing, we do that constantly because we're justifying to each other the decisions we've made. And I'm thinking, this is what I think about this, but what would Samir think? Because I'm going to have to tell her what I made and what I did. And so we're constantly forced to reflect on ourselves, which I know I wouldn't do if I didn't job share. So I think for work, it's hugely beneficial. They get so much more out of us doing the same job than they would if she did half of it and I did half of it. You also get, I think, a huge commitment from your staff. So I kind of, when I talked about the fragility and the infrastructure that you need, we are, between us, have set up this, it's complicated, our infrastructure, because we've got our own systems and processes and the way we hand over and all of that sort of thing, but it has enabled us to get promoted together, to do a real range of different jobs within the department, and that makes us a better all-round civil servant because we have worked in lots of different policy areas, and for us to leave, we would need to find someone and some other employer that will allow us to do what we do, and that's quite hard to find, to leave the civil service. So it's when you offer people flexibility and you make it harder for them to leave, and that's what you want. You want commitment, you want staff to stay, you want to be able to invest in them, and you want them to stay. And the more you can facilitate them to deliver the best they can do, and the more you can allow that, the more committed they are, and the less likely they are to find that elsewhere, and so to want to leave. Certainly for, I think, where you've got complicated lives and where you've got parent carers and we've got this different, we're not motivated by finding the job that's going to give me the most money. I need to find the job that's going to let me work. It's going to be interesting because it's taken so much effort for me to get here. It needs to be worth my while, but also I want to feel like I'm good at it, and I want to, I want it to be of value.
And validated, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. So I think certainly in terms of flexibility, and whether that's hybrid working, whether that's job sharing, whether that's part-time working, the more an employer can allow their staff to work in a way that meets their needs and isn't in conflict with their needs, the better productivity you're going to get. And I know, I suppose there's concerns around people taking the mickey and people, you know, not delivering and taking, you know, abuse of that flexibility.
Yes.
But I think the people who do that are going to do that whatever system you've got set up. You know, we work in our team, we work on an assumption of trust and an assumption that people want to do the best they can do, and we go from there. And that's how we start in terms of our management and what we expect from people. And, you know, then you address things if you need to, but that's just a grown-up approach to work, assuming that people are there because they want to be and are there because they want to, you know, in my world, they want to make life better for children and young people in their education. So that's why you've got people there.
Do you think this is only possible in a civil service structure? Do you think the corporate, you know, that the business world can accommodate this?
I think it has to. I think if you don't, you're missing out on such a valuable part of the workforce that has so much to give and so much experience, and that is hugely valuable. I don't know why they wouldn't. And I know lots of people who work in the corporate sector and have a flexible approach to their work, and certainly the hybrid working is something we've proven that you can work from home. We've proven it. We've all done it. It wasn't a choice, but we did it, and the world didn't end. So it's doable, and I think it's just about having a grown-up approach to the professionalism of your staff and wanting to find a way to get the best out of them whilst meeting your own needs as an employer.
Indeed. And I think as well, some of the things for the employer, yes, they might need to maybe to start off with the infrastructure that you would need to put in place might be a tad more than if you have just, you know, maybe one person, or you're not thinking through the complications around, because it's indeed, I mean, what you've just explained briefly there, I would imagine, you know, it takes a lot in terms of coordination and all those things. But if you're able to put all that in place relatively, I think in the longer term, in the long run for the organization or the business, your output, what you will be generating at the end of the day will be much more better than if you had not given that parents carer a chance, is what I believe. But maybe I'm a bit biased now, but with my, you know, experience as well, and with the emotion that I know goes into caring, you want to prove to yourself that you can do something different.
Yeah, indeed.
So with that, when your heart is into that job, you want to be sure, you will ensure that, you know what, I deliver on this thing. You know, it has to be, and you get that from, yes, you can get it from anyone, probably, hopefully, but from carers, that is you're adding value to lives, and you can be sure that you will get it back in so many other ways.
Absolutely. And it's such an effort to get there, that you are going to give your all when you're there. And also it's what I definitely find from my job is that it's a huge respite for me to be able to spend my day thinking not about logistics and of my own life and my family, but to be improving things for other people, or trying to, not necessarily always successful. But you know, that's respite for me. It's an opportunity to use a different part of my brain, and often to give my own lived experience to help improve policy, or to be able to feed in. There's lots of opportunity to do that as well, and that's invaluable. You know, I'm often a stakeholder as well as an employee, and able to help policy reflect the reality of parent carers' lives.
Which is so valuable, and it's really an encouragement, because one of the things that I wanted us to have here is, number one, to say it is doable to parent carers. It is doable, I mean, yes, and even though you might not be able to do it, depends on where you are in your journey as well. There will be best days, there will be, low days, the mood swings, everything in between, but it is not impossible to get this. And it's one of the things that I want, parents, carers who might be listening and, watching to take away from this, that with planning, with, understanding, and of course choosing, and at times I see as well that it might mean changing your career path or your interests, you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to be pragmatic. You can have an ideal of what you want to do and what you want to achieve and where you want to be, but you have to look at your life and work out kind of what's doable, what's realistic. And actually, I'm probably not going to be Director General of the UN, and that's okay. I can be a policy advisor at the Department for Education, and that's, maybe as close as I'll get, but that's good enough. And at some point you might be way further backwards on your journey, but I think, there's kind of, don't diminish your ambitions, keep trying to get where you need to get, but also just, if it's a really hard day, be kind to yourself, or if it's a really hard week or month, give what you can give, but just remember that you're juggling a lot
more, and being realistic and being kind to yourself. How do you wind down? How do you relax apart from work?
So I'm part of a very wonderful netball team. Netball. I've been part of Aqua netball team for 10 or 11 years now. 11 years, I think. And so we train every Monday evening, and then we have matches every second weekend. And being on court and having 6 other women have my back and be on my side and want me to win is so, for me, so life affirming and so valuable. It's one of definitely the ways that I escape. I'm not a mum, I'm not a carer. When I'm on that court, I'm a warrior, and I want to win. I'm really competitive. And and I've got these wonderful women who I love, who are on my side and I'm on their side, and that's just a lovely feeling. So that's been really valuable. And actually during lockdown, when kind of everything stopped, my netball team, you can play netball. But we had a daily quiz, and we, just lots of the stuff that lots of people did, but they were such a lovely source of strength for me. And then, family, obviously a wonderful husband that keeps me sane and enables me to do all of the things that, enables me to go and play netball and to leave him with the kids. And sport is really important to all of us in this family. We're a very sporty family, and so he has his things and I have my things, and we kind of manage that. But we're not great at relaxing. We haven't nailed that. That's a work in progress for me. I aim one day to be able to saunter or meander rather than stride and hurry somewhere. I haven't solved that challenge yet.
But it's about finding what you love and being able to do. I think one of the challenges we have, is just that, again, we come back to support network. What can I put in place, and what are you empowered to be able to? And I think one of the things that, I'm taking away from your story and your journey is the fact that being able to work, has helped you to, is like a ripple. Being able to work has helped you to be able to put some things in place and afford them, because some people would love to, but they just can't, put some things to the back burner apart from focusing on that child,
Yeah.
at every point in time. So but whether we love it or not, whether we like it or not, though, one other thing I try to emphasize for parent carers is the need to take care of you.
Yeah.
While you're caring, you need to take care of you.
And that's really hard to do, isn't it? That you're always the last.
Yeah, to say.
Yeah, the last thing on the list. But having I'm not great at prioritizing that, but I think because John and I both have the regular sport and regular people that we don't want to let down in terms of kind of, for him it's tennis, for me it's netball, that pressurizes us into going, when you're really tired and actually would so much rather stay at home. I would actually benefit from going and being in that group of women for an evening. But yeah, it's always a struggle, isn't it, to look after yourself enough.
It is indeed. It is. It's been lovely talking to you.
So lovely to catch
Thank
up.
you so much for all the different nuggets that you've given to us. Do you have any final words for our parent carers generally? Yes, it's Parent Carer Week rounding up now. But do you have any word of encouragement for them?
I think what I definitely am learning and kind of continue to learn is that it's constantly changing, that if you're in a really bad place, it will change and it will get better, and then it will probably get a bit worse again and it will get better, but it will change. And that's something that's valuable and important, and to try and cling to, is that there will be highs as much as there will be lows, and to enjoy them and to laugh as much as you can at yourselves, at each other, because why not?
Yeah, indeed. And we need that to move on, to carry on and not take things too hard, because it's hard enough, isn't it? It's hard enough around all the different challenges that you face.
Yeah, exactly. Don't try and be perfect. It's not possible. And who cares?
Bless you. Thank you so much, Church. It's been
Thank
lovely
you.
having you here.
It's been lovely.
I'm very sure that our viewers and some other, parent carers that will be listening to this would be encouraged to know that, see, it is not impossible. Well, maybe immediately, depending on where we are at different points in our journeys, you might need to change some things, adjust some things, but keep moving is what I say. Keep moving. It could be crawling. It could be, whatever it is, just have some motion. Don't stay there. It is not the end of the. Yes, your parents' carers. Yes, lots to deal with and to juggle. Yes, the focus is on that child and on the children, as the case may be, but it is not impossible to still have a life.
Exactly. You're still a person. You've still got needs, and you've still got valuable things to contribute, and you still need to be nurtured and to thrive. And you need to find whatever it is that's going to make you thrive, whether that's work, whether that's something else, whether it's volunteering, whatever it might be. Indeed. You need to find stuff that isn't about being a carer. It's about you and whatever it is that you need.
Thank you. Indeed, I agree. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So much. It's lovely to speak to you.
Lovely to have you here. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And that wraps up our Carers Week. All the different interviews that we have being able to bring up on different issues. And I do hope that you will subscribe to our channel if you have not done so as well, and forward this to as many parent carers or parents within the disability community, as you know that this will be a blessing to, and they would learn one or two things, be encouraged, is what I would say. And again, we're cheering you on that it is not impossible to still have a life, even though you are a parent carer. God bless you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we appreciate you. Thank you. God bless you. Bye now. Bye.